Hello, welcome to Waypoint Survival. Today, we're going to make some pitch pine glue. So we're out in the woods and it's raining, but we are collecting the third part of our glue process, which is some deer scat. We've got another pile just down the trail there, and so we're going to go collect that, put it in our bag, and take it home and dry it out. So for those of you who might think this is a little gross, well, it's not the most sanitary, which is why I'm wearing a glove. But a deer is an ungulate, much like a cow, an elk, buffalo, American bison. And so this is made of compressed vegetable and plant matter. And so when it dries, it's going to form a very strong bonding agent as we crush it up into a kind of a coarse powder and then put it in with our glue. So here we are at our fire pit, and as you can see, so the last time we shot a video, I've placed a top on it here, built somewhat of a chimney, but the wind is a little bit contrary right now, so we're getting a little bit of smoke back, and it does that, of course, a little bit more until it gets actually built up a little bit better and the fire gets hotter. It's been raining, so a lot of the wood is kind of damp. We got our pans up here. I've got a pan of water that I'm going to be using as a double boiler with this pan here. And what I've got sitting down here is I've got a couple of these half-liter bottles that I collected pine resin in. And I'm going to put it in here and melt it using the water as a double boiler. The reason you want to do that is simply that you don't want to make this resin too hot, or it will catch on fire. So we've got to be careful about that. These pots I just picked up at the second-hand store, at a thrift store. I've got a tin to put my finished glue in when I'm done. And then in a couple of these plastic containers here, my other ingredients is, if I can get the top off, just simply some charcoal to be crushed. And then I also have in this other smaller container some deer droppings, which we will use as a binding agent. So basically, those are our three parts to our glue. We've got the resin, got some charcoal, which we're going to grind down into a powder, and then we've also thirdly got our binder, which is the deer droppings. So I'll give you a little better picture of this fireplace, and you can see what we've done. And as we let the fire build and get hotter, started getting the water to boil. So here's a picture from this angle of our stove fireplace. Move around to the outside here. You can see chimney hole, and a little better view here from this angle. And of course, our shelter. And once the fire heats up good, the chimney does draw quite well. As you can see, it's just a matter of getting the wood dried out. One other thing that you might notice, I've got this rock around my neck, and I was down at the river not too terribly far from here, and I found a stone actually already had a hole worn in it, so it's perfect for this leather thong. But I also found this stone here, which had a bit of a divot in it already. And I took some sand and some ash, and I used this stone and made a much better mortar and pestle. And you don't often hear a lot of talk about natural tools, but if you keep your eyes open, you can find a lot of things that you can use that work like this. And these type of stones are not in my area. so I did have to go some distance to get this. And I would recommend to any of you that when you're out and about and you find things that you can use, as long as it's not illegal, you know, public land or something like that, where you're able to pick stuff up or you get permission from a property owner, go ahead and pick up the resources that you can use later, and it'll come in good stead. All right, so we've got to take our pan here and get our resin in it, and hopefully we can get it out without too much trouble here. Just going to use a stick, and the reason I'm using these pans from the secondhand store is because I don't want to mess up any of our good pans in the house, because if you've ever messed with resin before, you know if you get it on you, it is extremely sticky. All right, so we're just digging it out of here. I'm gonna put it in here, and then we get our water boiling, we'll put it on there and melt it down. And then our next step is we have a strainer here that we bought, and we're gonna strain it through that to get all the bits of bark and leaves and debris when we're properly heated up to where it's more fluid and liquid. All right, got our resin melting there in our fireplace. Utensils set up, and got our charcoal. Things waiting for us here. Start grinding. So while we're waiting for our resin to melt down fully, we're just going to go ahead and use our mortar and pestle here and grind some of this charcoal down. All right, that's pretty good powder. I'm going to keep doing that until we get enough, and then we're going to work on our deer droppings and get that into not a real tight powder, but just a loose powder. With you don't want to grind it real fine because it is our binder. Very pleased with this little mortar and pestle here. It's doing a really wonderful job. And the ratio that I'm going for is about 10 to 20% of the deer droppings, and so about 40% or so of the resin and charcoal mixture. There's different recipes for it out there, but that seems to give a pretty good consistency, so I'm going to go with that. So we've got this separated. We've got our charcoal on this side, our deer droppings over there, and we're just going to go ahead and mix them up now and get that nice and spread throughout there just by shaking this container around, and that will help us to get any of the larger pieces then to the surface. We'll discard those, put them in the fire. So we're looking for more of a smooth type mixture, and we'll tell you that this is a very dirty job. Another thing to note though when you're doing this is you want to make sure that you're using charcoal from a hardwood fire. So maybe some kind of a hardwood for get the right mixture. All right, so set this over here. We won't knock it over. Let's take our pan, and what we're going to do, we're going to take this all right, it's looking good. Some nice liquid resin going there. All right, put this back in here. Let that melt down a little bit more. All right, let's see what we got here. Got to do this quick because it will harden up on you. So we're gonna heat it up just a little bit more, and we'll dump it back out. Get back with it. All right, so we poured it in there, and now all we're doing is we're just stirring it around, mixing it in here with our charcoal, and it's starting to make a really nice mass, and charcoal and binder. And you got to work fast with this stuff because it will congeal on you, but that's a pretty good mix there. All right, and we're just gonna dump it back into this pan here. We can heat it up, keep it hot. it's coming along. Just takes a while. It's like a lot of things. You just can't rush it. I'm gonna get this ready, so when it's all done, we'll pour it in here. We've got our batch made here, and it's nice and liquid. You stir it up. You can see it in there or not. But all right, we're gonna pour it into our little pan here on top, and just looks like a perfect amount to just about fill it all the way to the top. And that's what we want. All right, very good. Let that cool down. Down here. Actually, it's still warm, but I'll show you what it looks like. There it is. All right, let's put our lid on it. Set it down here in a nice cool spot where it can cool down and harden up on us. Guess we're still recording, aren't we? Probably need to turn that off and wrap this video up. This is James Bender for Waypoint Survival. Please like, share, and subscribe. My hands are dirty. This is James Bender for Waypoint Survival. Please like, share, and subscribe. And make sure and press that bell button to stay notified of all of our upcoming videos. And we'll talk to you next time.